On this episode, we are talking to probably the most interesting woman in real estate, Randi Mendez, one of the co-founders of the Moms in Real Estate group, and she has quite a story to tell. First off, how she's been able to do 20 million in sales as a solo producer for the last bunch of years, and how she does it, how she markets, how she gets her clients, how 85% of her clients come from a core group of referral partners. This is an absolutely incredible podcast. You're going to learn so much in a lot of different ways. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 350 of the Massive Agent Podcast. I am your host, Dustin Brohm, here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today, we are talking with one of my favorite people in real estate, Randi Mendez. She is one of the co-founders of Moms in Real Estate. She's also a great producer. She is you know what? I'm doing her a disservice by not having my notes in front of me. She's one of the best community builders I've ever seen. She's the leader of the nationwide Christian-based Faithful Living Real Estate Group, and she explains what that means exactly. And really, she empowers women to have profitable businesses by design. And I think you'll see pretty quick why I call her the most interesting woman in real estate. She's incredible. So a lot to learn today. I don't care who you are, male, female, brand new agent, experienced agent, team leader or not, you're going to pick up something great that's going to further your business and your life today for sure. Before we get into that, we are getting dangerously close to the Ignite 24 Team Builder Summit here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're just over 30 days away, and we do still have some tickets available. We are bringing in some of the biggest and best team leaders in the entire country: Neil Dingra, Jonathan Campbell, Matt Kane, Paige Steckling, and Michael Perry, who runs the #1 team in Utah. That's all. They're coming into town to give you guys all the secrets, everything you need to know about building a profitable real estate business. There's so many different ways you could structure it. You could have a traditional team. You could have a hybrid team model like I have. There's a bunch of different ways to structure it. And that's what those 2 days are all about. Go to igniteslc.com right now. Get your ticket before prices go up again. They're going up very soon. And grab yourself a ticket. Be there October 9th and 10th in Salt Lake City, Utah. And by the way, October is the best time to be in Salt Lake. It's the best time of year by far. The weather in October is perfect. The leaves are changing, the air is crisp and warm during the day. You've got to get here if you haven't been. IgniteSLC.com. Grab your tickets while they're still available. I'll see you there. And we've got to give, I love being partnered with BAM because, first off, they're the greatest media company in real estate. I don't even think that's in question, right? They are the news and the coverage and the content that they put out on a regular basis on their website, on social media is second to none. But they go a step further with BAMX. So BAMX is their membership community where you get 3 social media templates, 2 video scripts, 1 blog, and 1 email delivered to you every single week for you to brand yourself. You can put all your own branding on it. You can customize all of it. They just give you all of that content that you can then push out to your people. And they do it every single week. That's on top of the courses that drop every month. They have bi-weekly trainings and masterminds in the BAMX community. No membership in real estate delivers the value like BAMX does for a fraction of the cost. And to save even more money, make sure you use code MASSIVE at checkout and save yourself some money. Just go over to nowbam.com or click into the description here on the YouTube video or on the podcast, the link's there as well, to join BAMX. Remember to use code MASSIVE at checkout and save yourself some cash. And let's get into the conversation with Randi Mendez. I don't want to take any more time than we have to. This conversation with Randi is incredible. It could have gone 2 hours. We could have had a freaking Joe Rogan episode here with the 2+ hours, but we kept it as short as we possibly could. Let's go. What's up, guys? I'm here with Randi Mendez. She has a lot of titles, as you heard in the intro. She wears a lot of hats because she's doing so many cool things in this industry. And so I wanted to bring Randi on. She's one of my favorite people in real estate, and we just met this year, actually. She's doing so many cool things in so many ways. And so I thought the best way to get that message out there is to have you on the podcast. So Randi, welcome officially to the Massive Agent Podcast. How are you?
I'm excited. I'm stoked to be here. And obviously, I've known who you are for a much longer time, but it's always interesting how things come full circle. And I've loved getting to know you personally this year. So I'm excited to get to be a guest today.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm excited to have you. You have a very unique looking business. There's a lot of different facets to it because you serve so many different people, mainly agents, but also clients. You serve them in different ways. And so I want to dive deep on that. How would you describe what your business looks like right now? Like how do you get business? What does that look like? And then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah. So I always jokingly say, faith, family, real estate kind of sums me up. But really, my heart and my business is to rise women in real estate, right? And so the primary capacity is to help real estate agents, specifically moms in real estate, to build profitable, life giving businesses that are faith and family first. But that does also extend beyond real estate because I also help just career-based women do that, to take more ground for the kingdom, and also just networking groups and all the things. So really, I've learned to, and we can talk about this a little bit in the podcast, but I've learned to be a champion of women. And I think that's important because not all of us are naturally wired like that, especially when we're put into cannibalistic industries such as real estate. And then, the big difference for me is the number one rule they say is, don't talk politics or religion. And I have built my business on the cornerstones, not so much of politics, but on faith, which definitely bleeds over into, my political views.
You're marching to the beat of your own drum, and I love that. But from my point of view, from the outside looking in, that's why you've been able to build such a large community. Why you have such a loyal community, people that love you and follow you and respect you. It's because you do it that way, and you don't shy away from who you are as a person. And I absolutely love that. And I think that in and of itself is a lesson for every agent to really lean into who you are as a person and what makes you unique, and not sand off the edges to try to look professional or any of that crap, which really doesn't work. So
It doesn't. It doesn't. Every time I try to be professional, it's like a fish out of water. It doesn't work.
so no sport coats for you, Randy.
No, no blazers, no heels. Like I'm way too thick to be on heels. It doesn't look right.
uh, so one of the first things that I saw, I was looking you up when we first met. I was looking you up, and I went to your website. And don't you do an event called like Buns Up, Bras Off?
I do. Buns up, bras off. In fact, I kiddingly but very seriously say that I'm blessed to do about $20 million a year in personal volume, and most of that volume is done with no bra on, in my pajama pants from home. I do get dressed to go out and see my clients, but again, that was something I tried to do. Like my journey often was like, let me walk this natural ladder of success in real estate. And whether it was building a team the traditional way, or whether it was, suiting up and trying to look the way that I'm supposed to look, it just never felt authentic. And what was funny is when I would have success, I would ask my clients like why they worked with me. And it was always like the authentic reason, like, you fell in the driveway, or you couldn't open the key, like you couldn't do something. It was never the polished stuff. And so slowly I just saw that that was like the key, and it was so much more freeing, and it was such a better life-giving business that I just leaned more and more into that.
And isn't it easier to manage and maintain that too when it's just authentically you, and you don't have to like worry about, oh, I need to avoid this, or I need to not say that, or I need to not act this way. Have you always, since you've been in real estate, have you always been this authentic?
No, authentic, yes. But I think it was also like once you got a layer close enough to me, I kind of tried to keep a little bit more of a polished version. But I will
Mm.
tell you, we have a local divorce attorney in town, and she specializes in men. And I mean, she takes some heat. She was very bold. And so years ago, probably, I don't know, probably close to 10 years ago, I was like, can I just take you to coffee? And my question was like, how do you deal with being hated? Because the truth is, the real truth is like, I think most people want to be liked by everybody, but I definitely did, right? Like I definitely wanted everybody to like me. And when they didn't like me, that really bothered me, and it stole my peace. And so I was like, how the heck? I mean, she was she was not liked by many. But the people she had were like raving fans. And so when I went to lunch with her, she said something really powerful to me, which was, if you want success, you can't be liked by everyone, right? And that was a pivotal moment for me where I just really realized that. And Jesus didn't even get through this life liked by everyone. So I don't know who the heck I think I was. And at that point, I changed my mindset to kind of what my sales mindset was. And this was my sales mindset when I was, whether I was cold calling, however I was getting my business back in the day in my early start, I went for the upfront rejection. I would rather somebody reject me and tell me to F off and hang up on me and want nothing to do with me on call one than to do that, 6 weeks into me tiptoeing around calls and wasting all my time. So I just pivoted that to myself as an individual personal brand, was like, love me or hate me, but do it quick and do it fast so that we can just move on. And from that point on, my goal has always been one scroll of my social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, wherever. And I'm either your girl or I'm not, but let's not do the lukewarm thing.
I think there's so much power to that. That also shows that you have an abundant mindset. So when you started out in real estate, did you have that, or is that something you had to develop over time? And how'd you do it?
Um, I think in theory, if I'm being 100% transparent, in theory, I think I always positioned myself that I had an abundant mindset. Fun fact about me, one of the first things I got to do that was really amazing in real estate was build a coaching company specifically for moms in real estate. And we even named our conference the Abundance Conference. And I think all of this was unintentional efforts to create an abundant environment. But the truth is, we still very much were in a sales business, a real estate sales business that's kind of cannibalistic, and we tripped over each other a lot. And so it was like, it wasn't, this is such a corny, this is going to totally show that I'm a mom and a grandma, and I don't know if you'll know what I'm talking about. But last night I was like, watching The Bad Guys with my grandson. And have you watched The Bad Guys?
Yeah.
Where okay, so how he's like getting the warm and fuzzies, and like every time he does something good, until you actually find a tribe of women where that happens, and you find a tribe of people, women, men, whoever, but when you actually experience somebody that is happy that you're winning and they are not incentivized, they're not getting a piece of it, that starts to unlock the abundance. And it's like a domino effect. And it just like, it continues to just take over. And then you have a community and a culture of abundance. But unfortunately, those are far and few in between in our industry.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. I mean, when I started in this industry, I was living in scarcity financially. And so my mindset was that. And so it took me
Mm-hmm.
it took a lot of work and many years to finally get to the place where like I was doing some business and it's like, okay, like I'm going to be fine if I don't work with that client, if I fire this one that we're just not a fit, I'm going to be fine. I have more business, and I didn't feel like I had to be everything to everybody. And I that shift, whenever that happened, to some people it happens before they get into real estate, but there was some point in their life where they had that shift. Other agents, it happens 5 years in, 10 years in, but they have that shift where they're like, wait a minute, I'm in charge here, and I can be who I am. I can be authentic. I can absolutely repel the people that are not a good fit for me and be fine with that. I can be disliked by people and be fine with that. Don't you think that's the real unlock? Like, because as long as I've known you, and it seems like, for quite a while now, that's just how you've been operating, and you've been doing a lot of business. So there must be something to it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think you said something really powerful, which, you were like, you're in survival mode.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the bulk of us come at it from a very egotistical, place of wanting to be like the person that gets everything. I think most of us come to it from survival, right? And I think that when we can start to have a bigger trust and faith, right? My faith came from God. And so if you know my story, like I didn't sell houses unless, I had to be a broker so I got my license in 2002. By like 6 months in, I was a broker, because in my head, if I could get that accolade, then I was that much more successful. And I just very much had, I'm the daughter of a narcissist and a very proud man. And so I had some wiring inside of me. But as time went on, and I didn't sell stuff unless it fell in my lap. And then when I did change, Dustin, like when my change happened, it came out of necessity. I found myself temporarily separated. I found myself not only the sole support for my own 3 biological children, but I thought it would be a great thing that summer to say yes to taking in my autistic nephew, yes to taking in a child who I had already adopted and raised as special needs sister, yes to taking in somebody from my I coached at-risk youth, and so the school called me and said that she was going sideways, and so why not? So I took in 3 to 4 additional mouths to feed, and I had no idea how I was going to do this. And so when you go and all of a sudden you can find the gratitude, then the scarcity goes away. Does that make sense? Like we go from survival mode to, wait a minute, I don't need all the deals. If I can just take care of my family, that's a blessing. If I can actually just make it in this business, that's a blessing. And when we start to shift our thoughts around that, and really the big aha for me was a quote I made for myself, which was, I never know what God's protecting me from or preparing me for. And when I started saying that, even when I lost the listing, even when I didn't get the agent that I wanted to partner with, and I just trusted in that, it was hard for a long time. But in the last 3 or 4 years, it's been seeing God bring that full circle. It's like, oh my gosh, like I know why I didn't get that. And that is where it's been a game changer.
That's huge and that's powerful. I want to pivot real quick to how you get business for yourself. So you've been in real estate, you said, since 2002. My gosh, that's a long time, Randi. Like
Thanks. I am a grandma too. So yeah, I'm one of the older ones in the business.
You're like a 32-year-old grandma.
Yeah.
How over the last, the last half of your career, how are you getting business? What kind of marketing are you doing? Is it mostly referral from other agents? Is it referral from clients? How, because you're obviously just living your life and being yourself, but how is that translating to business for you?
Yeah. So for most recently, so in the beginning when I had to make that pivot, right? And another part of that story that was really important is that, my son was a dual patient at Stanford and going back and forth for chemo. And so I had to figure it out. And the way that I got going was strategic alignment. So I found people that knew what they were doing and how to do it and how to sell homes. And I came alongside them and I said, hey, here's the value I can bring. Here's what I need from you. So literally I went to somebody and I said, I'll be on your team, simultaneously build my team. I'll become your number 1 buyer's agent, but you got to give me all my freedoms. And he did. And so that's kind of how it started. But I was very blessed because he kind of showed me the inside and exposed me to like community events and relationship building. And so as I was working those 2 models and I was doing those cold calls and I was like, okay, terrified and going outside or around the block because I didn't want anybody to hear me make the call versus showing up at the community event, I knew which one felt better for me. So I leaned heavily into a community-based business. So in the beginning, I did public community things. So whether it was blood drives, whether it was, a big harvest bash and invited the public, that's how I started. And then as those people became my friends and they became my sphere and they became my clients and then they became my advocates, I created a closed community called the Mob. There's an inside joke since I'm Randi Mendez and my dad was Robert Mendez and he was in sales and Hispanic. They always thought he was part of the mob. So I just went with it. And so we created the Mendez Mob and I just loved those people and poured into them. And now today, 85% of my business, and on average, we're fortunate enough to do about 15 to 25 million a year in my personal production. And 85% of that comes from the Mob. And those are clients that don't just, there's a difference with advocates. And I tell agents this all the time. You only need 10 advocates, right? People that will actually inject themselves in a conversation to refer you. And that's what I've built is a community of advocates. So that has been my game changer, is really building people that believe in me. I've been very blessed to have that.
So it sounds like a version of like an MVP group, right? Or was it a Facebook group or is it an email list, or how did you stay in touch with the Mob when you put this group together?
Yeah, so it started with events. And so it started with, calling them, multiple touch points to invite them to the events, following up. I tell agents all the time, the power is in calling the person that doesn't show up. right? Hey, I noticed you and Rick weren't at the event. I really missed you. Just want to make sure if everything was okay. So it started that way. And then it morphed into also a Facebook community where we do monthly giveaways. We engage. Our community has started to build relationships. I have like 5 or 6, maybe even 10 moms who have become like best friends and have their own mom tribe and moved from all over different places in the country to our city and now are like best friends. It also resulted in a bunco group where where the mob doesn't let other real estate agents in the bunco group. It is now an annual Cookies and Santa event, an annual Easter bash, an annual harvest event. We just added in this year rodeo ticket giveaways. And now we're starting to have that next, like our mob VIP. So for the clients that really go above and beyond when they come to the events, they're getting an even higher elevated experience. Like they're getting more things at the event.
That's awesome. How do you manage all of that? Do you have a VA, or is this all in your head? How do you stay on top of, uh, you're giving a lot of great stuff to your community.
Mhm.
How do you stay on top of it?
Well, side note, if anybody wants to know what that looks like, they can go to my website, faithfamilyrealestate.com, and you can actually download my client connection roadmap. And it talks about all of my client, everything I do to stay in contact with my clients throughout an entire year. But on that note, systems. I'm a systems girl. If you know the book Rocket Fuel, I go back and forth because I am a visionary and I want to be a visionary through and through, but I'm also an integrator and I have to have those systems. So I build the systems and the SOP to go with everything.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, how do you remember to do all this?
It's super easy, super easy. One time, a friend, he asked me to train on this, and it was like an 8-minute training. And he was like, well, for the high Ds, I just flew through it. I was like, week 1, week 2, week 3. It's just a systemized process.
That's fantastic. So 85% of your business still today is coming from that group, the mob.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome.
100%. In fact, I not to digress, but I made a post last week for something that was happening in business. And sometimes we worry about crossover, like, if we have agent audience and we have a client audience. And it was very interesting to me because 3 of the first phone calls that I got were from clients. And they didn't fully understand what had happened, but they cared enough to call. And I think that that's really powerful.
And are we talking about with your group?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get to that, Randy. Yes, but that's actually really awesome that your clients would care enough to be like, hey, I don't know what this is, but what's happening? How can I help? How can I support? That's
That
cool.
was exactly my takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that speaks volumes. Very cool. So as you've gone through your career, you're doing, 15, 20 million bucks in production. Now you have this Faithful Living real estate group, this nationwide Christian-based group that I'm really excited to watch you build out. How do you see your role as the solo producer changing now that you have this nationwide group?
Yeah. So what I've in my last 5 to 7 years, what I've really got to do is help agents to scale family first businesses that are highly profitable. So like when I experienced my first agent that I played a small role in their journey to earning 6 figures and just seeing their success, that was like a high I had never experienced. Right. And the truth is, like, I do love production, and production is absolutely, still my highest income and still what, supports my family. But just getting to champion people excites me so much. And so part of my journey has been that now at Real, I have this opportunity to have a different model that doesn't require me to have the traditional rainmaker model. It doesn't require me to take a large percentage. And I just get to be the cherry on top of agents' businesses. I get to be their hype girl. I get to be the person that really champions them on. I get to let them mirror my business. Like, hey, here's everything I did and how you can implement it. And, we can work in a collaborative setting without it having to be at the cost of them having a highly profitable business themselves.
Oh, okay. Now you're speaking my language. I love this. And I love hearing about these clever hybrid models and, different ways of having a team, because I think it's a problem, and it's a passion of mine to show agents, hey, you don't have to fit in one freaking box. Like, there's more than one freaking box. There's an infinite number of boxes. You just have to create your own, build it, and jump inside. But the industry is like, here's the box, traditional team,
Mm-hmm.
rainmaker model, CEO model, blah, blah, blah. That's fine if that's what you want. So that's really cool that you took a step back and you were like, wait a minute, what's possible, what can I do, what fits with my goals and my lifestyle and my strengths and my weaknesses, and you figure it out through the brokerage. You have more options available, more flexibility to structure things certain ways, and now it's more additive to agents rather than taking big splits and all that stuff that the traditional team would. So, and I love how you said you're the cherry on top of their business. So that's cool. Yeah, I'm really excited to see you grow that out. And I would certainly encourage anyone listening to reach out to Randi if what she described resonates with you, because I don't know of anyone more capable in real estate to do it big than Randi. Speaking of doing it big, uh, you have, over the last 18 months or so, you've built one of the largest real estate communities in real estate, moms in real estate, up to 28,000 members. And just while we were planning on getting this, while we were scheduling the podcast and all that, something changed. And now I'll just let you describe what happened in your own way, because I think a lot of people listening, a lot of the ladies for sure, the moms, will know you as Randi from Moms in Real Estate. But what happened over the last week that is having you? I'm not even gonna. I'll just let you describe it.
Yeah. So I will just say this, as women specifically in real estate, I find that our journey can be a lot more filled with extreme highs and extreme lows and a lot of fear, to be honest with you. I think that there's a lot of, and this doesn't, obviously, this is not a blanket statement, but there is a lot of toxic masculinity in our industry. And I think that just because we tend to be heart leaders, we operate in a different capacity. So I share that because it provides a little bit of context, which is the gist of it is I came alongside Kristen Cantrell, who is an amazing community builder and by far one of the best humans that I've ever known. And I had made some big decisions that were scary that I didn't understand, which included walking away from my previous coaching company for moms in real estate, right? And so I come alongside Kristen Cantrell. We built this amazing community in just under about 18 months. And the entire time, I'm a smart enough businesswoman. I'm the one who coaches other agents. In fact, I had some of them send me this to enter every relationship with an exit agreement, right? But at the end of the day, Kristen had some previous relationships. And she really had a lot of emotions and love and respect and admiration and belief in those people. And so even though when Kristen and I formed our new partnership and we started to build this from the ground up, the group didn't even have 3,000 members, and marketing meetups and buns up, bras off and all the things, I kept saying gently here and there, like, hey, can we remove this admin? But I wanted to be respectful of Kristen's relationship. And Kristen also was leading with her heart, right? And so she trusted them fully. All of that to say, sometimes building big building big is always a blessing, but it also sometimes catches other people's attention that maybe you would rather have not caught their attention. And so needless to say, Kristen and I definitely caught the attention of people that we were both previously aligned with. And we quickly saw that they were making movement in the community because we're in there every single day, active, working in there. And these people had never been active. And so the gentleman who had, right. And there was actually a gentleman who had founded it and created the group, if you will. And I never tagged, there's a setting, if you know Facebook groups, where you can tag your admin so that people know who they are. And I had never done that because it was very awkward to me that a male was in the group and I didn't like that. And so we were working to remove that, but we saw that the male was starting to add admin. All of that to say, I called Kristen. I said, they don't know what they're doing exactly on the back end right now. And I have the opportunity to remove them. Like, should I just get them out? And I can relate to this so much. Kristen said, no, I want to trust them. I want to trust them. And I defer. I said, okay, I'll defer to you on it. We'll trust them. And within about 30 seconds, unfortunately, that trust turned to complete heartbreak. And we were removed as admin from our own group. And then we were completely removed from the group and received an email. Kristen received an email. I actually didn't even get an email that simply said alignment no longer benefited them. And years ago, Kristen worked for them. So this was the legal loophole that they were going to attempt to go ahead and take the group back for.
What has the response been from members of the group?
Well, I'm going to just say that Kristen and I just jumped off a call a little bit ago about this. I'm completely mind blown. Like, I'm in so much awe, and I can't even express like the mixed emotions, because on one hand, I'm angry, and this goes back to like that toxic masculinity, and so many times in my career, and I know there's other women like this, that I have been in a place of, of almost wanting to coward and hide and just being timid, because like, how do you go up against the males, and how do you go up against the males that have money, and then how do you go up against the males who convince the girls, the other women, to be mean girls and to be part of these things? And so on one hand, the utter deflation, the heartbreak, the fear, the like, all of the things. But then on the other hand, the amount of reach out, the calls, people that I've never spoken to, literally calling me to say, this isn't okay, and we're in your corner. The immediate, Kristen, I think, was existing in heartbreak, to be honest, Dustin. And I pivoted as far as like my business sense kicked in. So I just immediately created another group to just start moving people to, and just kind of, I don't know, build our next step. And, I didn't know what to expect. We're not even 2-3 business days into this, because it was Labor Day weekend. And by God's grace, we have almost 2,000 members. And here's what I will tell you. It's 2,000 tenured members. It's advocates, right? We talked about that in your real estate business. Like, you don't need 500 people to have a successful real estate business. You need 20 people that know you, like you, and trust you, right? And wow, the outpouring has been insane. It's also been a little bit scary that so many people have had this experience and had this hurt. So yeah, I'm just ready. I'm ready to build a bolder community for women. I've always been ready to build. I've always helped women to build, but I'm like, let's build bolder. Like, let's stand our ground even more.
So on Facebook, when you did a post just telling everybody what happened, and that you were basically, your Facebook group was stolen from you, that's how I would describe it, and completely hijacked. Our friend and mentor Clayton Gitt said something that I've heard him say before, but it really hit. He said, this isn't happening to you, this is happening for you. And I don't know if you saw that comment or not, but as I've been looking at it from the outside looking in, just, because I care for you ladies and what you've built, and it really sucked watching this happen. I also saw how you guys quickly went into like, okay, well, here's the next chapter. Like, that one's closed. Boom, let's do our own thing. And now you're fully in charge. It's your way from the start. It's a clean slate. And has that been freeing at all? Like, are you at that point yet, or is it still? Are you still in anger and frustration, or are you now in excitement at all? Is that, where are you with it?
Yeah, Kristen and I were talking yesterday, and we were both like, we were actually going back and forth on an email, because we haven't even. So I say this with a little bit of sass, right? Like, we're smart. So yes, you took our group, but you didn't take our emails, you didn't take our relationships, you didn't take a lot of things from us. And so as we've been, rebuilding and kind of working on the messaging and how we want to inform our agents, because we are going to do this with respect in class. And so as we were doing that, I was like, hey, low key, like, I'm excited. And Kristen was like, me too. Like, me too. I'm super excited about it, because there's always an opportunity, right? And there's always an opportunity to grow. And we had really, honestly, kind of started to become overwhelmed. No joke, we had 1,584 members waiting to be approved. And it was like a daily chore for me, because if they answered our questions, which, agents, I love you, but it should be easy to find you and to know what you do, and it's not. So I would go and I would approve the 100 or 200, that had actually answered the questions, and I'd filter them out. Right. But then I would try, because I wanted to welcome people. So I'd try to look on the profile, and it was so time consuming. And Kristen had even shared a couple weeks before that like, she was like, gosh, sometimes I just feel like our stuff gets washed out in the masses. And so here's the thing, and this is exactly like a business, and I've said this time and time again, like, whether you're the agent that wants to just make an extra Disneyland trip come true a year, or if you're the agent that wants to change generational wealth for years to come, success is defined by you. But you need to know everything that's possible and then define that success. And this is my second build to almost 30,000 agents, right? And what I'm taking away from it is, one, I obviously have the ability to do it. But two, why do I want to chase that same metric again? Like I was thinking about messaging and I was like, oh, follow us as we build back to 28,000 agents. But why? Why do we need to build back to 28,000 agents? Maybe we only build to 5,000 this time, but maybe it's a more life-giving group. Maybe it's a more valuable group to our members, and our members get more, and there's more community, and there's more referrals, and there's more empowerment happening, right? Maybe they're less spam, and whatever it is. And that's the same thing that happened in my production business back in 2010, when it was like, I have to take care of my kids. I have to pay the bills. I have to do this. It was like, I had to build a certain way. But as time went on, I didn't have to build that way. And I found the way that worked for me, that was life-giving for me, and that was honoring for my family. And now I see the same opportunity in this. As long as, and this is a confession, Dustin, I can keep my head right, because in this industry, whether it's in production, whether it's in an agent Facebook group, whether it's in volume, whatever it is, we follow the damn vanity metrics and we associate our identity. Like the relationships I've had that have not been able to be what I wanted them to be was because individuals, including myself at times, are wrapped up in the identity being attached to these metrics. And when we can undo that, like Kristen and I are as successful community builders with a group of 2,000 agents as we are as 30,000. And if you see me different, I have to give myself permission to let that be your issue and not mine.
Ooh, I love that so much. And that perspective you have now, I think
Mm-hmm.
is so key, because a lot of agents, like with social media
Yeah.
followers, right? Agents that they're like, oh, I need to build this brand. I need to build my presence. So I need followers. Well, you don't, you do, but that's not the primary goal. Followers are a byproduct of connection and impact and providing a ton of value. Like when you do those things, whether that's 1,000 or 100,000 people,
Yeah.
that's where the results that you're actually looking for come from. Like the impact and the results. Agents that just want
Mm-hmm.
to get clients and business, it's not followers that do that. It's relationships. It's actual viewers. It's people who are actually not just a follower because they're like, oh, that's a good video, follow. They actually want to see everything you post, and then they watch it
Yeah.
and they engage with it
Yeah.
and they share it with a
100%.
friend and they comment on it and eventually they message you. That's who you want. That's really hard to track, right? It's not just a follower thing. There's so much more to it. And so I love your perspective now that you're like, we don't need a 30,000 member group now. If it gets there, cool. But that's not your primary goal. So thank you for diving deep on that. I love so many lessons there, so many lessons. And what's crazy, because I've really gotten to know you this year. This big change, this big pivot, is not the first one for you this year. Wouldn't you say 2024 is definitely a year for the books, because for both of us, right? We've made some big pivots in our business, and that's how we've gotten to know each other, is through Real. We become business partners, we become friends, we've been working together a lot. And would you talk briefly about how changing
Yeah.
brokerages has been so additive for you in your business and how you structure it? Because not every agent, for some agents, it's just a numbers thing, but for you, it's so much more. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually think that my entire last 2 years have kind of had an ironic similarity in every move that I made. I feel like I had a lot of, from my coaching business to my production business at EXP, and being a builder at EXP. So I existed in two capacities at EXP. I was blessed and fortunate to be an agent builder and have an organization of 150 agents, and had we combined our brands and became one brand in my market, and the team overall in all markets was pacing to do 500 million. And so here I am sitting, and at different times the timing's different, but I also am a co-owner in this large coaching company that has 30,000 agents and all these different products, and I'm doing all these different things, and I just wasn't feeling overly fulfilled, and everything was very strategic. It was very strategic, and because there was so much strategy in it, it was a continual tripping over each other. There just wasn't. And it's interesting because the first wave came in leaving that coaching company, and then experiencing building community with Kristen was like that first taste of what culture, real healthy, true abundant culture could be like. And then I separated from that team, which seems crazy, right? A lot of things I did in the last 2 years seem like career suicide. Like, who the heck walks away from being partners from mega icon teams, the guys who can get Zillow Flex going in any market and all the things? But I started to feel the disconnect, right? I have agents who are, and I'm not speaking as to the specific team, but just in general, I start to see more and more agents in the industry that are putting up bigger numbers, but their profitability is down. In my local market, there was a kid who did like 5 million in sales and I did like 42 million, but I knew he got all the business from Flex. So I ran the numbers and I was like, dang, that dang kid has to keep that stamina going for 8 more months to net what I just netted. I can take the next 8 months off. So I was like, all right, this alignment, if it goes, it goes. And that one went. And then the final one was EXP. And I was terrified. I was like, what am I doing? I've burnt all of my pillars of income down to the ground. I like what? And now I'm going to walk away from revenue share. But again, it was stagnant. Nobody was excited. Nobody was filled. And that's not to say there wasn't great things in the company. In fact, I was aligned with some of the biggest powerhouses in the freaking industry that are they're huge producers. But again, that wasn't like I don't have a desire to sell 500 homes. I have a desire to be at the dinner table every single night, right? And so it didn't make sense. So Real was the final component that brought my entire everything that I have going in my career full circle. And at first I'm going to admit, Dustin, I was like, this is corny. And I heard all the things like it, like, what am I going to attract to? I don't have my unique value proposition. Does everybody really get along like this? But man, has it been a game changer, the momentum and the collaboration and the fact that agents get to come in and tap into a company and not tap into all the individual value benefits that we have, which really just gave me another job.
Yeah, well said. And so were you looking this year to make a move like that? Like when did that pivot point come for you?
No, I was on recon. We all have, well, if you're in the agent attraction business, we all have like those that, like our fantasy VIP, whatever, it's fantasy football. Like we had the fantasy attraction list. And I had some people that were on that and they went to Real. And I was like, whoa. And I got on a call with them and we talked about it, but they never even asked me to like look at Real. And then you come along and I think you make a post somewhere or something and you're like, you said something to the effect of, I always say I'm in it for agents and this was an opportunity to put my money where my mouth was or something like that. And that spoke to me because the thing that excited me the most, I was a franchise broker before I came to EXP. And when I saw the model and I was paying an in-house trainer 60 grand a year and I was doing everything I could to have good culture. And still, no matter what we did, I had agents that were in my office were like, I don't like how he trains or he's training on this and I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. And I could see the writing on the wall. I knew cloud-based brokerages were going to give agents something that they had never, ever had before in terms of growth. And I also knew the bottlenecks, right? Like I knew team leads when the agent outgrew them, then they left and they went to a different brokerage and it was a bottleneck for the broker. I knew it all. And so I was like, okay, this is it. So EXP exposed me to the model that excited me. And I went in there and I was excited and I was pumped and I was trying to build community. The issue just simply was that they had the model, they didn't have the culture for what I wanted to build. And what I wanted to build was a completely different culture. And there was a bottleneck. Kristen and I met inside of EXP, but we couldn't work together. And so it was like we tried to build together, but we couldn't. And going to Real allowed us to actually build together. And that has been game changing as well.
That's so cool. Yeah. I looking back at the last 6 months here at Real, I didn't start the year looking for a new brokerage at all. But one of the big takeaways I've had, and I'm curious how you'd sum up some of your takeaways, but I would say that sometimes the opportunity that you're praying for, it just doesn't come at a convenient time.
Right.
I don't know how else to put it. Like we're like, I need this, I want this, and you're putting this out there and you're hoping and you're praying and you're manifesting, but then you think it's going to come at a convenient time. Like, well, sometimes the most inconvenient time is the right time. I've learned that this year, and the blessings that have come as a result have just been incredible. Meeting you, meeting Kristen, getting in business together and just all the cool stuff and new relationships, doors that have opened, new business ideas. And it's just been so great. Yeah. So how would you sum up, or what takeaways would you say you've had, looking back at what's happened to you this year?
Yeah, so I would so agree on the time. I often tell agents, like, there is no perfect time. Also, there is never 100% certainty, right? There's just not. Like, um, often, hindsight brings
Yeah.
certainty, but foresight does not, right? And so if you're waiting for that moment that you're 100% certain, you're not going to be certain. But also, I think my biggest takeaway is putting your big girl pants on is worth it. And I started my journey at, I was at a Remax office with brokers that were just, to this day, the respect and admiration I have for these brokers is off the charts. I mean, they just pour into their agents. And the fear around leaving them, and that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother podcast, a series of events that led me to where I am today. But the fear was real. Like, how do I leave when there's somebody down the hall that can be there? And then moving from there to, being a franchise broker and being brave enough to walk away from that salary. And then having, as the market was shifting, I think that that's another really important part of this story is I also, last year or this year, when I looked at Real, it was because I'm looking at it as a leader of a team and understanding that the market is about to change greatly in how agents conduct their business, and understanding that as a team leader, our unique value proposition to agents, for them to be on the team, is going to have to be so much larger, and we're going to have to position them to win at such a higher level. And so I wanted to see, like, how do we do that? And so as I went through all of this, every single time I was terrified. Every single time I was scared. And countless times, if somebody was to be writing this, it would look like Randy. I even had somebody say to me, like, you're just going to commit career suicide. And I was scared. I was scared of, what if I don't make it? I was scared of, what if I don't have enough leads? I was scared of, what if I can't get my production up? What if I can't cover my overhead? At one point, I stepped in, like, I was scared to leave a brokerage. And then 6 months later, I was floating a $70,000 a month overhead. Another issue, another topic. And I don't suggest that. But the point is that I was scared, am I going to be able to sell a house without these people? And then I was floating a $70,000 a month overhead. So all of it is, my biggest takeaway is do it scared, and don't wait for the perfect time. Right?
Well said. Yeah. Do it and do it scared. Don't wait for the right time. I love that.
And I think I really want to stress this home, because I think it's, and I'm not a man, so I can't say this without certainty, but I think that just in the business world, let alone in real estate, I think it's so much easier for men to be brave. And I may be 100% wrong, but for women, it's scary. And we also often are in business with men that in one way or another capacity intimidate us, or we're dependent on them, and it suppresses us. So I know for me, especially having, my past with men, in my history, like, it was so much harder to be brave. So I want the woman listening to this podcast that is, like, doubting if they can do it on their own and if they can pivot, and to understand also that you can move into a place where male leadership looks healthy. And I think that that's really, really important in this industry. And I mean, there is no shortage of solid, reputable, good male leadership, but there is also a tremendous amount. I mean, I forgive me, it's hard for me. I told Dustin before we started this podcast, I said, he asked me, being respectful of everything we've been going through, what I was comfortable and not comfortable with talking about. And I said, make no mistake, I want to clap back, but I'm a Christian and a citizen of the kingdom first. So when I clap back, I have to be respectful about how I do it. But even what happened to us was triggered by a man. Mm. And so that's something that I'm just so freaking frustrated about right now, is the woman out there that's a badass, that's doubting herself or her ability, because in one capacity or another, there's a male that's either given her an opportunity or is telling her she's not going to make it on her own. Like, you'll find the right males to align with, but put your big girl panties on and do it. Do it. You're going to fall. It's going to hurt, but you're going to get back up. That's been the story of my life. I have failed my way to where I am today.
Randy, we could go for another hour. You're a freaking rock star. What would be the best way for anyone listening to connect with you? They want to talk to you. They want to connect with you. They want to learn more from you and just hear more of what you're doing. What's the best way to find you?
Yeah, Rise with Randy. That's my handle, Rise with Randy. On Instagram, you can always just jump in there and send me a DM, or you can go to faithfamilyrealestate.com, and there's links all over there. And of course, you can jump in our new Facebook community. I will tell you this, Dustin, we have not decided where we're going with branding. I really love, one of our members suggested the real moms of real estate, and it just is a play on the words so
Yeah.
many times over. So I'm really loving that. But we haven't decided yet, but you can also jump in the Facebook community and find me there.
Well, we will link to your social media and your website and your Facebook group in the description on YouTube, in the show notes on the podcast, to make it easier for people. But Randi, you are definitely one of the most interesting women in real estate by far, right? I've got to figure out how to, like, I need a videographer to create like the most interesting woman in real estate. Like,
I've been trying to find somebody to just follow around. I always think I'm out of content, and then life hits. Dustin, I do want to wrap just thanking you because, I've been in this business for a really long time, and I've had the honor of coming alongside a lot of males who have been, instrumental in helping me get to the next level. I don't think, and I don't think I've ever had a male friendship, and I don't think I have ever got to feel the security in the friendship, right? Like, even my husband, even when I talk to my husband, and we just talk about, like, I feel as though, and this is how you should feel in business. You should feel that just because people can do things, they won't do things. Just because somebody can, they shouldn't, right? And you should, in a perfect world, feel security in business to know the people around you won't do those things. And I'm just so thankful because I already had that before I came to Real in my relationship with Kristen and so many of my moms in real estate. But now I get to have that with males again. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for being a champion of us and encouraging us through our ups and our downs, and being an authentic friend and a male that we could trust. And I just love it. I love it too, because, you kind of have a little harder image,
totally.
So I love that the guy that we can trust, it shows clearly that you can be all the things that men need to be in this workplace and still be respectful of women in this workplace.
Thank you. I can't tell you how much that means. Thank you, Randi. Well,
yes,
thank you so much for being on the show. Well, I'll have you back another time because we could talk for hours, for sure.
Right.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Make sure that you follow Randi. Go to the show notes if you're listening. Go to the description if you're watching on YouTube. Follow her, join her groups. Listen to her podcast, all the stuff she does, because as you've learned today, she's full of gold. Randi, I can't say thank you enough. Appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Randi Mendez. Make sure that you follow her. Go to Rise with Randi on Instagram. Click into the description, into the show notes, wherever you're watching or listening. Follow her, get to her socials, and she's someone that you want to follow. What she shared today is just the tip of the iceberg, and we'll have her back on the show again. Thank you so much for listening. Again, igniteslc.com to get tickets for our Ignite Team Builder Summit, October 9th and 10th. If you want a real estate business, if you're a solo agent, or maybe you're a current team leader and you want to scale that, and you want to buy back your time, you want to have more freedom, and you want to just get every answer, you want to get the entire playbook in 48 hours, get your butt to Salt Lake City, October 9th and 10th. I'll see you there. IgniteSLC.com for tickets. Thank you so much for listening. Take care.